AMD continues to frustrate the crap out of me by releasing the one thing that I want them to update, but they never do. But Sony's updating Epic Games with a huge pile of cash, and you can cash in on some very expensive Bitcoin. So hold on to your fatigued butts, my friends. We are getting into this episode of Hot News. I'm your host, Brett. We're going to be going over the hottest tech news that I can find on the internet, and we're going to be starting off with just what makes me hot in like a rage of fury and frustration, and that is the launch of the Ryzen 5000G series APUs from AMD. And you might be wondering, Brett, what gets you all hot and bothered? Is number one, this is coming first to pre-built OEMs and not necessarily being sold retail, which is what they told us about the 4000 series APUs that never actually went out on retail, and I had to buy one from Hong Kong on eBay and I just can't get it in retail. But then also the update is that these Ryzen 5000G series, although they are on Zen 3 process, which makes their CPUs great for doing whatever CPUs do, calculating stuff, I guess. I don't know. What's the derivative of my frustration right now? So while that's great, they're still on Vega graphics. It might be updated, it might be slightly better, but Vega graphics. Do you guys remember that? Vega 56 and 64 scaled down to the little itty bitty thing. They announced their partnership with Intel where they made the AMD and Intel hybrid, and they've just continued to iterate and iterate and iterate and iterate. I feel like AMD's Vega graphics in their APUs is equivalent to Intel never getting off 14 nanometers. Where's Navi, huh? Give us something here. I think the reason I'm so frustrated about this is because I have an affinity for these APUs. I really love running smaller systems that don't require a whole bunch, that you get some sort of media acceleration going on with that GPU, but you don't have to have a huge honking graphics card, especially with the shortage and dearth of GPUs that are out there right now. APUs hit that sweet spot, but not, this is just, it's a better CPU. Gosh dang it. AMD, please, could you just make like one APU with Navi and just send it to me? That'd be great. I got a mini ITX system that's waiting for it. I know this is usually a niche problem. Most people don't want APUs. I get that. It's just, this is Brett venting time. Okay, we need to get the hot news hot, and that's coming from the steam from my ears today. But AMD is not just a big bag of disappointment. There's some excitement going on with AMD, especially in partnership with Microsoft, because they have announced their Surface Laptop 4, which you can get in either Team Blue or Team Red varieties. Intel's Tiger Lake or AMD's Renoir APUs can now be found in the Surface Laptop 4 with a few key things that make the AMD version better. Number one, starts at $300 cheaper than the Intel variant, starting at $1,000 or $1,300 in case you wanted to get the Intel. But then on top of that, the battery life on the AMD one is better. You can get, according to them, up to 19 hours on the 13.5-inch laptop with the AMD processor, or 17 hours with Intel. Why would you sacrifice, huh? What's going on here? Why would you ever get the Intel? Maybe the GPU is slightly better with those Iris Z graphics, but I tested this over on UFD Tech. You can check out our review of the Dell XPS 13, and Tiger Lake's GPUs are just not very good. AMD kind of continues to slap the floor with them. Is this some sort of partnership Microsoft has to keep on going with Intel right now, that they can't drop them completely? But at $300 cheaper, better battery life, and as far as I can tell, better graphics performance. Why? Why are you buying Intel, friends? It's drivers, isn't it? Why are you buying all the PS5s? Don't you know daddy needs a PS5? Well, apparently Sony decides that they need you to kind of get off their backs about software updates with them, but releasing a new one that now allows you to transfer some game storage drive data over to USB hard drives. This is something that people have been clamoring for ever since the PS5 came out, but there are key few exceptions that you need to know about in order to make this worth your while. Number one, you can't download directly to your external drive. Number two, you cannot play off the external drive like you could on the PlayStation 4, and that is because of the PS5's ultra-fast SSD. It's just not meant to do that, and the USB interface is not fast enough. However, with that being said, they still are not giving us an update on when they're going to allow external storage to be implemented for the M.2 slot that's on the PS5. When's that going to happen, Sony? that no update. They're also updating a few things to the control and personalization options for the PS5, as well as new features in the PlayStation app, in case you care about that. But they're also implementing a huge cash influx to Epic Games. In yesterday's episode of Hot News, we talked about how Epic Games has lost nearly $500 million when it comes to their Epic Games Store, a lot of that being in them purchasing the exclusive rights on a bunch of games that have been coming out. Well, Sony is part of the $1 billion funding round that Epic Games announced today, with them being $200 million of it, and that's on top of the $250 million that they contributed last year. So Sony firmly committed to Epic Games and them stomping all over Apple in the lawsuits that are going on, to which Apple says, "Spring me up, Scotty, bring it on, spring it on." I'm trying to make a pun connected to the fact that Apple announced their spring-loaded event for April 20th, where we're expecting that new iPad Pros are going to be announced, potentially some iMacs with M1 chips. That's a possibility, as well as AirTags are some of the rumored things that might be popping up during this event. Let me know what you think Apple's going to be announcing on 420. But whatever it is, I don't think your expectations are high enough, my friends. And Nvidia's expectations weren't high enough when it came to mining. They are now updating their outlook for Q1 of 2022, where they're saying that mining revenue is going to triple. They're expecting it to go from $50 million in their quarterly revenue to $150 million in industrial scale cryptocurrency mining, thanks to the implementation of their CMP product, which I'm not sure if that makes gamers feel any better that it does matter that they released a dedicated mining product that seems to be steering miners towards picking those up instead of the gaming cards, or if this just means that they're picking these up in addition to the gaming cards, and it's still going to get really bad, which likely will, because it's time for the Bitcoin update. Speaking of things that are high, $63,000, topping an all-time high, up 5% in the last 24 hours. The entire crypto market is turning green. Ethereum's up 7%, just big movement all around, and suspected that this is largely because Coinbase is set to IPO tomorrow, so the crypto market is getting some sort of validation from the fact that Coinbase, which is one of the largest exchanges when it comes to cryptocurrency, at least in the US, that is now getting verified by the public domain by having an initial public offering. What's not getting verified by the public domain is GameStop. Look at this patheticness, down 0.07%. I'm tired of this. This fatigues my rear. Which thankfully, if I go to Japan on a road trip, I can sit on a toilet and it'll let me know just how tired my butt is. But I know that it's not very tired because I go through a daily ritual of making sure that I try to relax my anus.
Try to relax your anus.
But apparently there is a toilet that you can sit on, and it specifically measures the tension of the sympathetic nervous system increases and the activity of the parasympathetic nervous system decreases. Okay, it's trying to see what's going on with your tired booty. But in case you really want to know more about whether or not your butt's fatigued, why don't you go ask your Tesla to open its butthole. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my Tesla. Open butthole. And it opens the charge port. Close butthole. And it closes it. By the way, come follow us over at TikTok in case you didn't know that UFD Tech was over there. That was a colorful subject to talk about when Nintendo Switch is making things colorful by announcing a bright blue Switch that's going to launch on May 21st, which, am I colorblind? Is something wrong with me, or did I just get like the wrong definitions of colors when I was in elementary school? But that's purple. That looks purple to me. I've looked at this on multiple devices. Am I just like... Do my eyebrains need a software update because they're not working properly? Let me know down below in the comments. But I'm not the only thing that needs a software update. The helicopter that was supposed to take off on Mars on April 11th needs a software update in order to be able to do that. Ingenuity's team is dealing with a command sequence issue, and they're going to keep us updated as to whether or not the helicopter is ever going to fly on Mars. And I've always had the question of whether or not Intel is ever going to drive here on Earth. Turns out, yeah, they are. The CEO of Intel saying that they're going to try to work with the global chip shortage that's going on to help automakers and produce some chips for them, and saying that we're hoping that some of these things can be alleviated, not requiring a 3 or 4 year factory build, but maybe 6 months of new products being certified on some of our existing processes. So Intel getting involved in that. Apparently they can quickly alleviate problems that everybody else has, but can't deal with getting off of 14 nanometers themselves for half a decade. And with that, I'm not going to take up half a decade of your time. Why don't you check out yesterday's episode of Hot News right there. You could also check out our video on the Dell XPS 13 right over there in case you're interested in how Tiger Lake performs. Spoiler alert, not very good. I'll spoil you tomorrow. Hot news, my friends.